Hello, all of our remodeling friends out there. Hey, this is Jeff again, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be dealing with an issue that you probably see every once in a while. I'm sure many of you have seen this. So the cable company comes and brings you the new modern cable, and you have a big mess here because now you're left with this hole in the wall with, cable coming through here. They give you a plate, but these are kind of lame. And then you're also left with these older cable plates here that were installed by the original builder 40-50 years ago, and that type of cable wiring is no longer used, so it doesn't do you any good to even have the plate on there. So today we're going to show you how to eliminate all of this mess and make it look really nice and clean and professional here. We're going to put a little box inside here, a little outlet box to hold our wire here and the cable, and then we're going to put a plate that will mount nicely to it. And then over here we're going to remove this cable plate and cover up both of these holes. So this was a cable plate that I guess was there at one time before that somebody never even patched up. So we're going to clean all of this up at the same time. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first step in here is what we like to do is we like to just put in one of these inexpensive little, they call these remodel boxes. So the way these work here is you cut a big rectangular hole in the wall here, you slide it in there, and then as you start to screw it in, these little tabs right here come up. See, let me show you sideways. See, they come up like this, and they pinch against the back of the drywall, so it holds these in place nice and tight. We do this all the time for remodeling and adding electrical outlets. And then you can see there's little knockouts on the back there that you can just push your Romex cable right up through there. But in our case, we're going to be using the cable TV cable. It's going to be going up through there. All right. Now, here you can plant it pretty much anywhere in between two studs. This type of outlet box is meant to be used without you don't need studs. You don't have to nail it to the side of studs because it wedges in between the drywall. But what we have here, and I know there's a metal stud right here. We have metal studs here in Florida in our drywall. And so what you got to do is, I'm using a stud finder here just to confirm it. But yeah, we already know. See, there's your 3 LEDs lighting up, so that's how you know there's the stud right there. All right, so that just confirms it. So all we want to make sure we do is that we trace our outline for the hole that we're going to cut. We're going to trace the outline right over this way to avoid that stud right there. Okay, now when we go to cut the hole for this in the wall here, pay special attention here because this is very important. You draw your line on the wall to go there. You see that, the top of that feature right there, that horizontal line? You want the line to go there, down the left edge, down to this bottom little line right here, and over to the right edge and back up. Do not make the mistake that I see many other people make. They cut the hole too big. They think you got to cut it all the way around the outline, but that's not true. The reason is these tabs here have to stay on the outside of the drywall and push against the drywall. So they overhang basically the opening. So that's why you always want to trace it so that it follows the smaller dimension. And that's why it's very critical, the size of that hole. I can tell you the number one mistake I see the drywallers do in construction is they just cut the holes too darn big, leaving gaps around there that either the outlet can't grip the drywall or the outlet plates are too narrow to cover up the gap that they left behind. So that's a big problem. That's why, like when you see here, look at my outlet plate here. I'm using a much wider than normal plate. These are my metal plates that I use throughout all of the properties that I work on when I'm remodeling them. And so that gives you much more margin of error because a lot of times here they cut the drywall right around the edge there. All right, so let's go ahead and trace this out. Okay, so what I do is I put the outlet box on the wall, and you can see where I already traced around everything there, just on the top there, and on the left and on the right and on the bottom. And I can just connect them together But you want to make sure when you put your outlet box on there to trace it, make sure it's even with the outlet next to it, see? And also you want to make sure that you're completely vertical. You don't want to be like that. You want to be nice and vertical, see, like that. And then just connect your lines together there and go ahead and trace it out and cut it out. All right, now here's a strategy I like to employ when I'm doing this. You tape a paper bag to the wall right below it. So when you're doing all of your cutting, it catches all of the dust. Because let me tell you, that drywall dust is super, super fine. And even if you have a shop vac, it won't get all of it up. Let me show you just some crumbs that are left right there. Those won't come up unless you get the brush attachment with it. So unless you have a shop vac with a brush attachment, you're not going to be very successful at getting up all of this dust. So it's best to just let it land in the trash bag. Okay, so today I'm going to show you 2 ways to cut this out. So you can either use your utility knife here and cut it, which is a lot of hard work and a lot of pushing in and fine-tuning and slicing, or you can use this one here. This is my Sonic Crafter, and this has a drywall blade on it right there. And that drywall blade, if you look at it, what's great about this is it's set at the right thickness to just cut just through the inside of the drywall without risking any electrical wires that may be on the other side of it. That's why I like using this tool. Plus, it's easy to go right down the line, and we'll show you in a minute, but it just cuts really nice and clean, and it's way, way faster than doing this by hand. Some people also use one of those, it's a handheld drywall saw, and you just poke it through the wall, and then it's got a big serrated edge, and you just yank it back and forth. But the thing I don't like about that is it really makes a very rough cut, and it creates just a lot of dust flying around. And lastly, the professional drywaller guys usually use this little electric device called a roto-zip that goes zzz. It's really just about that fast. They could cut around this whole thing in less than 5 seconds. All right, so let's get started. All right, so I'm going to do the top part with the utility knife here, and I'm going to do the side and bottoms with the Sonic Crafter, and you'll see how much quicker it is. So here, and this is 5/8 inch too, so this is going to take longer, and I'm just kind of going slow here just to show you. Okay, so with all the cajoling and pushing and struggling I had to do, that takes about 30 seconds to do just that. See how long that only took, just a couple of seconds to do that. And by the way, when you use the Sonic Crafter, I highly suggest you have somebody standing by with a shop vac hose pointed right where you're doing the cutting to suck up all the dust. As you can see, it still kicks up a little bit of dust. It'll float back down here for you to vacuum up later. Okay, so we've gone around and cut nice and clean around the edges there. Now we're ready to see if our blue box will fit. Okay, so we're trying to put the box in and just to see how it fits, and you can see it still needs a little more. It's a little bit tight on the left side, and on top of that, it's not quite level either. So it needs to, if you look at the bottom there, it needs to open up about at least another 1/8 inch on the left side. So what we're going to do is cut the opening a little wider and make it go wider towards the left as we go down. So we'll start right here and cut it out just a little bit wider opening there so that the whole box can just rotate slightly like that. You can see it's a little bit canted. See? So let's do that. Okay. So it's a lot easier to just take a few seconds and shave a little bit off of here. That's what happens when we try to make our boxes fit nice and tight, but it's better to be able to shave off a little bit off of the drywall, because if you made your hole too big to begin with, you wouldn't be able to add any meat back on there. Okay, so this will fit a lot better now. And remember, this part here, when it goes into the wall and we start turning the screwdriver, he's going to flip this tab up behind the drywall, and then it'll draw it into the back side of the drywall and make it nice and snug. Same thing with the one at the bottom here. Okay. Okay, so as I turn this now, I can feel it getting tighter against the back of it, of the wall. So we know it's holding nice and tight, and you can just feel it pulling the outlet box up against the front of the drywall. So do you see why I said this is the line where you have to make your cut in the drywall, because these tabs have to push against the wall there, see? So don't make the mistake, like I said before, everybody else just traces all the way around the outer edge. You don't. You trace the outer edge only on the left and right sides, but you trace just this little horizontal line here on the top and on the bottom. This would be a perfect time, if you haven't already, to hit the subscribe button down below. And once you hit that subscribe button, you'll see that little gray bell. Click on that, and that will alert you to every time we put a new video, so that you'll never miss a video. And also, if you like our video here, you can click on the thumbs up button down below. That lets us know that you like us. And any questions you have, please enter them in the comments down below too. Okay, now as I screw in this bottom one, watch that lower left edge of the outlet. You'll see it tighten in towards the wall. See how it's moving in and in and in, closer and tighter. That's how you know it's working. You can feel it tugging. So this thing is now in place, perfectly solid. It's not going anywhere. Absolutely nowhere. Okay, so now we have the outlet plate. And we usually get the plate that has the F-type connector on both sides of it, see? So that all you got to do is connect it up to your cable right there, attach the wall plate, and you're good to go. So there we have it all connected up on the back of the plate. But of course, you didn't think you were going to get off scot-free, did you? You didn't think this was going to be a super easy job, right? Because look what happens here. See, the previous owners left some kind of damage or something here on the wall, which was here before we even cut this. So that has to be patched up first, and then we will touch-up paint it, and then we will put the plate on. Okay, so now in preparation for making that patch, I put a piece of green mesh tape there. We're going to take this plate off the electrical outlet, because when we go to do the patching up in this area here, we're going to take it all the way behind the outlet, so that you won't see any kind of border, like a line, you know, there when we do it. It'll be behind the plate, and we'll do that when we patch these two up at the same time. We've taken this old one, the old cable connector off there, the plate there, and look at that. I mean, that's just a mess. So instead of making two small patches there, what we probably want to do is draw something bigger around it here, like that. So I think we should just trace a bigger opening here and cut a larger opening and put one piece of drywall in there, and that should take care of it. Alright, so now to cut out the piece of drywall here, what we do is this. It's a lot easier to just cut a random size that's fairly close to the area you want to cover there, right? And that's what we did here. We put this right up against the wall here, and we traced it out. So now we have the outline. It makes it perfect. That way you get a perfect cut every time. And once we're done cutting that, the piece of drywall will just fit right in there, and it will cover everything up. So now all we have to do is just tape and mud once we cut it out. Pilot hole first. Okay, now we were gonna like disconnect all of this stuff before, but we think somehow this might also be feeding up to the neighbor above us, because this pipe right here goes down the wall and into the cement slab below us, and there's another pipe here that goes up, a conduit that goes up to the ceiling slab above us. So since this is the only one in the whole house here that seems to have a conduit attached to it, that seems to indicate it might be doing something, feeding, repeating on upstairs and downstairs. So we're going to leave those connected. I don't like covering up like that, but we have just so many plates and stuff in here, And they're probably not using that anymore because, like here in this unit here, they had to run newer cables to be able to take advantage of the fiber optic cable and the high speed 25 megabit per second internet that they are using in here. So we're just going to put the drywall right over that. All right, so now before we connect up this wood, I always like to feel up and inside and down and around and make sure there's no electrical cables. Now there's an outlet box here, right? So I can feel the electric cables way up in here, about 3 or 4 inches up. So we just got to make sure we can find our drilling of screws into the wood right in this area right here. Okay, so I just put on a little first layer right there, and we'll let that set up. And then we'll go ahead and start patching up this side here. So we've already started to secure the piece of wood. I'm going to put one more screw here and another one down here. When you attach the screws, it's very, very, very important to make sure that the head of the screw just barely breaks the surface. You don't want to feel a bump up. You want to feel it just barely concave in, and no more than what you see right there. If you see any white around the screw, you went too far, because the idea is to just screw into the paper, the outside layer of the drywall. And the paper is where the drywall gets its strength, and that's how it has the holding power, because you're forcing the head of the screw against that paper. But if you go too far, then it can just pop out later on. And so you always want to make sure that you're just a frog hair below the surface, just like that, just like you see it there. So we'll put the other ones in now. So now both of those are in just perfect depth. Side where we know we're going to drill the screws here right through the metal screw here, the metal stud. We know there's a big space up here, right? So I always mark on the wall where my stud ends, right there and right there. That way I know to stay within these two lines here, wherever I put my screws there. Okay, so let's put the drywall piece in place. Okay, there we go. Now you can see there's a little flimsiness on this side over here. That's because that metal stud that's over there is pushing back in. It's not supporting all the way up against the thing there. So okay. Alright, so now that we got it all attached, we're ready to tape and mud. And there's a little bit of a lippage right here because, like I said a minute ago, that metal stud was really loose in there, and there's really not a good way to attach it. And we didn't want to start taking everything apart in there and try to put another piece of wood right there where it wouldn't fit, because you have that outlet, that's a steel box outlet that's already connected through conduit to the cement slab below, so it's not going anywhere. So we'll just tape and mud over this. Okay, so it's all taped up now. And what I'm going to do is apply a bunch of mud, just get it all over there in the area with my 6-inch knife. And then I'm going to skim it up with the 9-inch knife, just because we have such a large area there. So I'm just going to do a pass here and a pass over here. And we're going to we are going to apply some mud right up over here and even over this outlet, and just feather everything all the way up and around, because it doesn't make any sense to just stop right here with a line of mud and then have this other bit over here. It just makes more sense to feather the whole area all the way out. Okay, so I've got it just kind of all mudded on there just for now, just till we can trowel it down. And you can see what a lot of people do is, I think a lot of people make the mistake of they just put a little bit of mud right around where the tape is, and then that's it. But see, we go far beyond it because we're going to feather out, right? So let me just see how it looks with the first pass here. See, you just kind of go like that, and that'll smooth that out, and we'll try another pass. There's There's another pass, so it's making it look a little smoother. Okay. Alright, so what we have here now is a reasonably acceptable first layer. So we'll let this dry, and then we'll sand down any bumpy spots there, and we'll apply a second layer, feathering it out even further. Okay. So by the time we're done, we'll probably be out 2 feet total here. And that's how you have to feather it to make it look believable, like there's no bump out at all. So after we've let it dry a while here, here's the first coat there. And you can still see how it's dark in the middle there? It still needs more time to dry there. So we have to let that dry completely, and we can come back in and trowel in some more and flatten it out and feather it out further all the way around. Okay, so you can see I always use circular sanding patterns, and you always want to make sure that you sand all the way to the end there. So the edge of your mud there should look like a cloud where it's kind of fluffy and hazy. It shouldn't be a defined borderline. So if you can see any defined lines, that means you need to sand it down a little bit to feather it in. So now we're going to apply the second layer of mud. Okay, so we're done putting on that second layer there of mud, and man, you can see it looks real flat going across here now. It looks real textbook. So once this sets up and dries, we'll just kind of we use our taping knives to scrape down these little ridges there, and then give it a quick sand, and we'll see if we need a third layer. I'm thinking we probably won't need a third layer when we're done here. And by the way, just for the record here, this is my 12-inch taping knife here, and this is made out of blue steel. And just for the record, I really hate these knives because blue steel tends to rust, and it rusts like immediately too. And in fact, it's very humid down here in South Florida, so just leaving it out a couple of days, it'll already start rusting. I don't like these. I don't know why people make these. So I'm going to be looking for a stainless steel version of this instead of that blue steel nonsense. So if I find it, I'll put a link to it down in the description for you, because just wanted to warn you, don't buy any taping knives that are blue steel. You always want to get, you know, this here, the nice regular stainless steel here. So this doesn't rust. You can see the difference between the two. Okay, so we've sanded down the second layer there, and this is looking really flat, nice and flat here. Because when we mudded it up originally on the first layer, we mudded it up nice and flat, and then sanded it, and then with the second layer, it went on really flat too, and this sanded nicely. So I don't even think we need to put on a third layer to make this look believable. This is already looking pretty good right now. So I think what we'll do is we'll vacuum off the wall, vacuum up the mess here, and go ahead and paint it. So now we're applying the paint here, and it can be misleading. We are going to do 2 coats of paint here. You might roll it on and think, oh, it's going on great, but because we're going on over new drywall mud here, solid mud, this stuff really should be primed. Now this paint has primer in it, but it's probably not the same as putting on a layer of primer first and then painting. But anyway, because of that, I think we're going to go ahead and put 2 layers on. Now it might look good after you're done rolling this on here, but after it dries, you really can't tell until this layer dries as to how well the coverage was on this. But it doesn't matter. We'll just take another 30 seconds once this layer dries here, and we'll roll on a second coat here. So this is Behr's Marquee paint, which is probably one of their top end paints, I think, from all the different paints from them I've been using over the years. And this one is supposed to be a single coat guaranteed. It's from that palette that if you use one of the colors off their palette, it's guaranteed to be single coat. But a lot of times we find that it's not really. You know how you can tell when it's really going to be a great single coat? If you have a properly primed surface. So that's their asterisk that they give you. Their sort of weasel clause. If you have a perfectly primed surface, then it'll be guaranteed to be 1 coat. Because you see how it kind of, even though I'm rolling a wet roller right over that, some of you can see a little bit of the white still shining through there. That's because it really should be. Later, and it still blends in perfectly. That's the quality control of their paint colors here. So you just kind of do it like that. Just feather it out a little bit. See? So this will blend in nicely with the rest of the wall. And then likewise that right down there, you don't want to see any defined edges there. Just roll them down and don't bear down. Everybody thinks you have to bear down real hard. You don't. The idea is to get the paint onto the wall without bearing down on it and without making the lines. Well, here we are a half hour later. It's still drying a little bit, but it looks really nice, real flat. You can't even tell we did anything there. So now we're going to put the plates back on. And you remember how I pointed out that I like to use these wider plates here, these metal plates, because these will hide flaws in the wall. So you see how the wall, there was a little bit of curvature to this wall here anyway, but this gives you a lot more margin for in case there's any defects right around the edge of the outlet. Okay, so now I just tie the cable onto the back of the plate, for the cable plate there, and the 2 screws are usually, they come by the manufacturers already clipped onto the back, so you just pull them off there. And here's our final product here. You can see as we step back and take a look, the whole wall looks perfect here. You can't even tell we did any patchwork there. So if you remember what we started off with, we had that ugly hodgepodge of holes and old unused cable plates and outlet boxes and a cable hanging through the hole in the drywall, and now it looks perfectly clean and professional. Okay, so now we just hook up our cable to it and we're ready to go to town with it. Test out our cable. So if you would, leave down in the comments below if you have any suggestions that would help others as well here. We'd like to hear how you do this kind of thing too. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave those down in the comments as well. And if you found this video helpful, we'd appreciate it if you would give us a thumbs up down below. Just hit that little thumbs up icon. And if you haven't been to our channel before, hey, this is a great time for you to subscribe. Just click on that subscribe button and you can come back and binge watch all sorts of videos that we have in many categories of different engineering failures around your house that need to be fixed, or remodeling ideas. And when you click on that subscribe button, be sure to hit the little gray bell icon next to it. That will alert you every single time that we upload a video, so that way you don't ever miss a video. Here it is, testing out perfectly. So everything was done right here. Everything's wired up nice. So anyway, that's the end of this video, and we hope you folks enjoyed it. We hope you found it useful, and we'll see you next week. You have a great week, folks.